Hello and welcome to the Afrocentric Woman. I'm doing a pop-up live because why not? I was thinking about doing a video. I was thinking about recording a video about my latest love bombing situation, but I figured, you know what? Let me try the live streaming because I haven't done it. I do have a live stream scheduled for this Friday night at 10 p.m. Central Time. I may end up changing it, but for now we'll just leave it as is. I definitely will be doing a live stream on this issue, and I'm hoping that by putting it, so far in advance, I hope that people can actually schedule, set a reminder and join in. Even if we have a handful of people, I still think it could be a really good conversation. I'm drinking tonic water right now, and I don't even know why because it's kind of making like little bubbles in my belly. So please forgive me in advance if, some bubbles come up. But nonetheless, this particular live that I'm going to be doing later this week is going to be about disconnecting from toxic mothers. I was talking to a friend the other week who, was going through a very common situation with both millennial and Gen X women and their toxic baby boomer mothers. So it's nothing I haven't heard before. Like, I've heard this story so many times. I've experienced it myself. It's almost like sometimes I feel like our mothers could be interchangeable. Like, they all act the same, pretty much, you know? And I've even talked to women from other countries who have baby boomer moms who are like black but they're from different countries and they act similar as well. So I just took the leap of faith and I actually, have gone what I call low contact with my toxic mother. And so I'm not completely no contact. I'm no contact with my father, but I'm very, very low contact with my mother. So I'm going to be explaining how I arrived at that situation. What are some of the mental preparations that I put in place? What are some of the decisions that I made? And also over the years, I can kind of share many of the boundaries that I have put up to protect myself from my mother's toxicity over the years. So this last thing I did with going low contact was really a matter of just sort of like a culmination of boundaries and choosing healthiness in my life and not putting myself in a situation to be triggered, not putting myself in a situation of someone who I know is abusive. So anyway, we'll go into that this weekend. So what I wanted to talk to you about in this particular case has to do with this guy who was love bombing me. Make sure my ringer is turned down. So I met this guy online on Bumble. You can refer to my video about what did I name it? Following my intuition, because I kind of mentioned this guy. And this is one of those telltale signs of like, what is it? Don't count your hens before they hatch or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what that saying is, but it's kind of like basically don't count on something until you have it. So I was kind of telling you guys I had something, but I didn't have it in my hands. I was told that it was already purchased, but I didn't have it in my hands. So that's kind of my mistake. Like, I should have just waited. So when I recorded that video, I recorded it off of what he said he did, but I did not have the thing physically in my hands. So refer to that video and you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. But let's just back it all the way up to us meeting. So we started talking on the app. He speaks Spanish. I speak Spanish too. So it was pretty cool to like have somebody to talk to practice my Spanish. And so we started talking on the app and then we started exchanging voice notes. And then eventually I think we exchanged phone numbers, and so we talked quite a bit. Um, I kind of started backing up a tiny bit just because it was like one day I didn't call him and he was like, "Oh, I'm so sad you didn't call me." And I just was like, that's team too much. Um, we were supposed to go out the Friday before Valentine's Day, but we had a blizzard here, like really bad ice and stuff like that. So I wasn't able to meet him for lunch. So we just talked. We just continued to talk, and then he said he wanted to do something for me for Valentine's Day. He said he wanted to give me some perfume. So I said, "Oh, thank you," and I gave him two different options. I think I told him Versace or YSL. I know I told him YSL, but I don't remember. I think yeah, those are the two. I told him either YSL or Versace, and I'm good. He said, "Oh, no problem. I really want to get it for you. I'm a man of my word, and I really want to do this for you." I said, "Oh, that's sweet." So we keep talking, and I just felt this is the thing. He kept basically he's trying to create a shared fantasy, right? So he's talking about a house, he's talking about children, he's talking about, supporting each other and everything. And it's just too much too soon. Keep in mind, I haven't met him. And he's like, I just don't know, but it's just something in my heart that just says you're the one. And, I'm just like, wah, wah, whatever, bro. Like, we haven't even had our first date yet. Like, can you pump your brakes? Can you just pump your brakes? I, I'm not here for the stupid shit, and I'm not here. I just don't want to be love bombed. No gracias. No gracias. So he's carrying on about these things, and I'm still really hesitant about it because I just don't, I just don't believe it to be true. I just think it's womp womp, and I just think it's shared fantasy talk. So, anyway, so we talk. So this is like what, a little bit over a week, and we're finally gonna have our first date. So I make us reservations at this. Well, no, he told me that day. He was like, "Well, I want to take you to the mall to go ahead and get your perfume." And I was just like, "Okay, that's weird because I thought you already got it." But I was like, "That's fine. We can go to the mall and then we can go out to dinner." And so my schedule was running behind, so I wasn't going to have enough time to go to the mall with him. So I just told him, "Well, let's just do dinner." And he was like, "Okay, that's fine because we could probably, if we have time, we can just go to the mall on Sunday." And I said, "That's fine." So I make reservations at this nice restaurant. I just, I haven't, like, the type of men that I date, I haven't had to tell them about a dress code. Usually my guys are really good. A lot of times they will look at the restaurant ahead of time, or they just dress nice anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like they just if you're like, "Oh, we're going to dinner. I made reservations." They're just going to put on slacks and nice shoes. Like they're just going to dress nice. I don't have to spell it out to them. Like that's just the caliber of man that I'm used to being with, right? So I just didn't think twice about it. I said dinner. So when I say dinner, to me, that means dress nice. You know what I'm saying? It's not like we're going to Chili's or Cheddar's or some bullshit like that. Like, I don't go to those types of places, so I just I just assumed wrong. So he gets out of the car and I'm just looking like, what in the schmelikins is going on here? He has on like jeans, sneakers, I want to say a fake Versace shirt and like a fake Versace jacket and like this raggedy Guess hat. And I'm not like, I like the brand Guess. Like I don't have an issue with the brand Guess because I have some Guess stuff. And so some of it's really nice, but this particular hat just happened to be really run down and it didn't match the fake Versace stuff, right? For me personally, this is just how I roll. I would prefer a brand, like I would prefer no brand or a lesser brand. Like let's say you had on a Guess shirt, or like let's say you had on a Ralph Lauren t-shirt or something. Like, I would be perfectly fine with that. I don't like fake stuff. So I don't like fake Louis Vuitton bags and fake Chanel, earrings and fake Versace clothes. And I just don't like that. It's a turn off. It's repulsive to me. I prefer the just have a regular t-shirt with no brand than a fake brand. So, it just looked embarrassing, and I'm just like, I couldn't hide it. I was just like, I said, dinner, what's happening here? And he had some excuses, and I'm just like, whatever, let's just make the best of it. So we get to the restaurant, and we get there a little bit early. So we decide we're gonna have a drink at the bar while we wait on our reservation. And so we sit down and um we have our dinner and it's fine. And then we go decide that we're going to go salsa dancing. And I kept telling him that I dance better than you. I'm telling you, I dance. He wouldn't believe me. He would not believe me. But I'm telling you, bro, I dance better than you. Like, I dance, what I can already tell you. I can just tell. I dance better salsa than you. And he's like, whatever. I'm the best. I dance better salsa than you. You probably dance better bachata, but I dance better salsa. So I said, let's settle this on the dance floor. So by the end of the night, of course, he's singing my praises because he had to admit that I dance better salsa than him. But yeah, he was just like feeding me drinks, like drinks and drinks and drinks. Like I could like in hindsight, I think he was trying to get me drunk. Now, I did drink more than my set amount that I thought I would drink. Like I thought I'd have like maybe two drinks at dinner and maybe like two drinks at the party, but I ended up having like I think I had three drinks at dinner. Yeah, I think I had like three drinks at dinner. Luckily, they weren't big drinks and they had a lot of ice. And then at the party, I don't know, like I probably had like three more drinks. So like that's a lot of drinks, right, for the night. But regardless of my alcohol consumption, I just didn't like I was barely tipsy. For whatever reason. I don't know why, but I was barely tipsy and I absolutely was not drunk. So, um so this is where everything kind of just gets more weird. So we're heading home and he is trying to convince me to go to his place and I don't want to go. And I'd already told him multiple times that I don't want to go to your house. I don't want to go to your house. And he's like, "Oh, absolutely not. Like, I won't even suggest it. You let me know when you're ready to come and then, da 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 da, and everything will be fine." So we get in the car and then he puts in his address in the GPS. And I said, "What are you doing?" He says, "Well, I'm just going to take you to my house." I said, "No, take me home." He's like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "Take me home." So he's like, "Well, nothing bad's going to happen." I'm like, "Take me home." So we head to my house and yada, yada, yada. He drops me off at my place. And then he's like, "Well, tomorrow I want to take you to the mall to get the perfume." And I said, "Okay, that's great. That sounds wonderful." So we both had a bit, quite a bit to drink. So we got up late and we started talking on the phone and kind of texting back and forth. And then finally, he is going to come and pick me up so that we can go to the mall. So I get dressed up, I put my makeup on, I get dressed. I didn't have time to do my lashes. But anyway, I get dressed and he picks me up. He has these like he bought me flowers, but just three roses. I don't know why any grown 40-year-old man would do that, but that's what he did. Like, I don't understand how by 40 years old you don't understand that you need to buy a dozen roses or 2 dozen roses or 3 dozen roses. Why on God's green earth would you buy 3 lonely little roses in this vase with this teddy bear on it? And it just looks very middle school, like you're gonna ask your like middle school girlfriend to like go to the dance with you and you buy her this little thing. Like, right? You like, come on, bro, you're 40. But he bought me this thing and I was like, "Oh, flowers. Okay, cute." I mean, it's a good gesture. When I saw them at first, I did get excited, and then when I looked at the whole thing, I was like, "Oh, these are just like 3 roses." Like, okay. But I said thank you and I was gracious. Um and then we're heading out, of my neighborhood, and he's like, "Well, where's that restaurant you were telling me about that has the soup?" And I was like, "Why?" He was like, "Because I was like, "Are we not going?" He's like, "Well, we're not going to the mall today because what I ordered you, I think it should just be here soon. Like, my friend is helping me order it and it should be here soon." So I already knew it was bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't need anybody to order a gift for me. You can do that yourself. And furthermore, you could have just gone to Ulta, or you could have just gone to Macy's or Dillard's or Nordstrom's or Saks and just bought the perfume. Like, you don't need to order it, you know? And so I just thought that was strange. I thought it was very weird, and I felt duped because you already knew before you left the house that you weren't going to take me to the mall. But you didn't want to tell me that because you didn't want me to cancel our date. So you wait until I get in the car. I'm already in the seatbelt and we're already leaving my neighborhood before you tell me, "Oh yeah, by the way, I'm not going to do that." So I'm feeling really irritated about that. And then as and then with the flowers, I was like, "Oh, that's very sweet." And then he hands me the flowers and he's like, "Well, will you be my girlfriend?" And I was just like, "I can't believe you're asking me to be your girl." Keep in mind, this is the second date, okay? With 3 lonely, little, thin, naked flowers. And then you're telling me in the same breath that you're not taking me to the mall at the last minute, and you handing me 3 lonely flowers and you're asking me to be your girlfriend. What are you smoking? You want to ask me to be your girlfriend, it should be in Aruba or Cabo or something. And like with proper flowers and like a proper gift, not with disappointing information after disappointing information and then some haphazard gas station flowers. Like, what do I look like? You know what I mean? So I was just like, "You know what? Let me think about that." Like, I still want to get to know you a little bit more and I just want to continue to think about it. And he was like, "Okay, I'm not going to pressure you." And then he just like proceeds to pressure me. And so at lunch, it's more of the same. It's like, kind of like pressuring me and shared fantasy and telling me all these things and telling me that I'm the one and all this kind of crazy stuff. This is our second date. This is the second date, right? So, um, so yeah, okay. So yeah, so that happens, and then let me see what else happened. So we finished lunch. Okay, yeah, so let's get to it. We finish lunch and we get in the car, and he's like, "Well, do you want me to take you to the house?" And I said, "Yeah, because I have something to do for my family later on that day." I said, "Yeah." And he I didn't realize what he was doing. And then once we were traveling and about to get on the highway, I saw a different highway. I'm like, "That's not where I live." I was like, "Where?" I said, "What did you put in the GPS?" He's like, "Oh, we're going to my house." I said, "No, take me to my house. I already told you multiple times I am not going to your house." So he was like, "Oh, okay. Let me I didn't know. Let me change it. I just wanted to I thought maybe we would go to the gym because we talked about the gym at lunch." Keep in mind, I have on like these like dress tights and a t-shirt and like heels, and I'm like, "You didn't think that we were going to the gym. You know I'm not dressed for the gym. I'm dressed for you to take me to the mall and to out to eat. And you didn't take me to the mall." And now you're lying, saying that you want to take me, show me your gym, and you think we're going to work out right now. You might want to work out, but that's not the type of working out you want to do. You have a different type of working out, and it does not entail the gym. I didn't say that, I'm thinking this. So I was like, no, just take me home. And I'm just at that point, I'm just upset because this is the second time that you've done that. So it's almost like, you know how narcissistic guys kind of like just swoop you up into whatever their plan is, and they kind of disregard anything that you want. They just kind of disregard what you feel comfortable with. They disregard all of that, and they're just going to sweep you up into their own plan. And then they just hope that your boundaries are porous enough that you'll just go with the flow, and that you'll just go with what they're saying and what they want to do and what they're doing. And they just hope you just get swept up in the motion. And before you can really, tap into how you feel about it, it's too late. They've already gotten what they want out of the situation, and they're done with it. So, no, bro, like there's just too many things about you that you know, has me vigilant. I'm not going to say on edge, but no, this is how I felt during this talking to him. First of all, if you tell me that I'm a good person and you keep saying that, that's weird to me. You don't need to tell me that you're a good person. Just be good. Don't do stupid shit. Don't fuck up. And we won't have a problem. But I don't need you to tell me, oh, I'm a good person. Oh, come to my house. Nothing bad's going to happen. We don't have to do anything. Stop it. Like, how dumb do you think I am? Are you dumb? Are you dumb? Oh, just come to my house. Nothing's going to happen. I'm not a bad person. And then he was telling me the story about his ex-wife and how she called the police on him, and about something about coming to try to see his daughter. And I remember asking, I said, well, what time did you get to the house? He said 9 p.m. I'm thinking in my head, 9 p.m. to see a, a 7-year old? That's weird. And so I just knew that there was more to the story. I didn't ask because I knew he would lie, but I know how to read in between the lines. And I'm certain that there's something extra to that particular story in regards to him, showing up to his ex-wife's house. Well, I think at the time they were still married. And actually, I don't even, anyway, we can save that little tidbit for another day. But yeah, I'm certain that there's more to the story. So, I'm taking that into mind. And you know what it really felt like with him? When people like if people hug you and like they're stealing your wallet at the same time, and they're like, oh, you're such a good friend, and like they're like stealing your wallet, or like, you know they're they're shaking your hand in one frame, and then on the other hand they're like throwing salt on a wound, or like fucking up your life in some type of way. And like that's how it felt like with him. Like on one hand he's saying, oh, we can take as much time as you want, and then at the same time he's constantly cornering me, like, are you going to be my girlfriend? Don't you think we can live together forever and be happy? And what if we have a child together? And what would we name the child? He's just like trying to strong arm me into this shared fantasy that I don't want to go into. And then every time I say, well, let's just see, and like, let's play it by ear, and like, let's continue to get to know each other. Every time I say that, he's like, oh, yeah, 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 because I won't rush you. I won't rush you. I'm totally cool with you taking your time. And then the next 5 minutes, he's like, so, where should we build our house? And it's just, I don't like him, trying to uh strong arm me into this shared fantasy. And hey sis, welcome to my live. I just wanted to jump on here because I was actually going to record this video and then load it on there, but I've never done a live before, so I figured, you know what, let me just try to do a live. So basically what I've been talking about during this live is I've been talking about this guy that I was dating that was love bombing me, and I have been resistant to his love bombing from day one because I'm just simply not interested in that. And I've resisted the shared fantasy. I don't want a shared fantasy. I want a relationship that is built in reality. And I would prefer to build a relationship slowly over time. And I don't want to skip steps. I don't want you telling me that you love me and I'm more and you're so this and you're so that. I just don't want that. So, I've been sharing, in this live about how and why I've been resisting his love bombing. So, yeah, so he tried to, after I made him take me home, and then I get out of the car and I'm just so disillusioned because I'm very irritated because he said he was going to take me to the mall and he didn't do it. And then, the interesting thing about everything, when I told him, I said, I'm disappointed with what you did today. You know that narcissistic thing that guys do when they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry if I offended you, but I didn't mean anything bad by it." I'm like, "What the fuck does that mean? I'm sorry if I offended you, but I didn't mean anything bad about it?" What? Like, you lied. You said you were taking me to the mall. I get in the car, and when I'm already leaving out of my neighborhood, you change the plans when I'm already in the car. So in my situation, when I'm telling you that, and what makes the situation worse? I told my mom like the day before, "Oh, such and such guy is taking me to the mall." And so, I can't go. And then she wanted me to do something. I'm like, "Well, I'm going to the mall to get this thing and get some stuff." And so she was like, "Oh, that's fine, have a fun time, take your time, everything will be fine." So when I get there, my mom's like, "Well, what all did you get at the mall?" And I was like, "He didn't take me to the mall. He changed the plans." And she was like, "Oh." I was like, "Yeah, I hate when guys do that." And my mom was like, "Well, men lie." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know what men do, but those types of men are the men that I don't deal with. I don't like those type of guys." So, so yeah, so that's what happened. And so that was embarrassing to me. And I told him, I said, that was embarrassing to me that you told me that. And I have to explain to my mom that you didn't do it. And to me, I think that that was an opportunity for him to say, "You know what? I'm taking you as soon as you're available. Like, I'm taking you on Wednesday, or I'm taking you this Friday, or like, you know, fix it." And he's like, "Well, I'm sorry if I offended you, and I didn't mean anything by it, but this was just," what I really hate what narcissistic guys do? They'll be like, "We just had a lack of communication. We just had a communication problem." No, the fuck we didn't. We didn't have a communication problem. You lied. That's what happened. And now you're trying to gaslight me to thinking that this is a communication problem when this is not a communication problem. I can read, I can pull up the text messages. I'm not illiterate. I'm a very intelligent woman. You said X, Y, and Z, and then you lied, and then you switched it up at the last minute. And then after I told you multiple times, "I'm not going to your house. I am not going to your house. I am not going to your house," you put your address in the GPS and you attempted to take me to your house when I never agreed to doing that. And I told you multiple times that I'm not going to your house. So that's the issue. And so he's trying to play stupid. He's the second guy to do that lately. Like, I just don't know what I did wrong. What could have possibly be the issue? I just know we had a communication problem. I said, well, if you, that's fine. Listen, if you don't know, let's just leave it just like it is. Oh, well, maybe it's the fact that I didn't take you to the mall. And maybe it's the fact that I tried to take you in my house and you didn't want to go. Oh, yeah, exactly. Oh, well, I'm sorry if I offended you, but, I didn't mean anything back, just reverting back to that. And so I just, he sent me a barrage of text messages today, and I haven't responded to them because I just don't want to. I'm taking a break from him, and, you know, that just is what it is. Let me see. How do I make a call? How can I let people call in? That's what I don't know. Settings. Uh, Green screen. No, guest. Uh, Help me out, Tanya. Help me out. Just say no to narcs. I don't know how I can enable that feature. Okay, that's share your screen. Yes, I'm using StreamYard. I want to try to send a link, but I don't know how. This is my first live. Ay, Dios mío, this is my first live. Um, General. Okay. I should have did some research before I started my live, but I didn't. So, grab the invite link and paste it in the chat. Okay. Oh, girl, that was too easy. It was a snake. It would have been me. Ah, ah. If y'all want to call in. Girl, if it was a snake, it would have bit me. Let me see if can I pin this? I don't know how to pin it. Dang it. I would if I could pin it. Dang it. Yay! You're on my live. Hi.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yay! You're on my live.
Yeah, and I was gonna just turn my camera. I turned my camera off because
I can hear you. Yay! You're on my live.
Yeah, and I was gonna just turn my camera. Oh, so I was like, why is it doing that? Oh, sorry, I have the window up. I was like, why is it doing that to you? That was me. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I said, well, let me mute myself if I'm the one who's causing like a feedback, but I have my
No,
headset on, so
it
okay.
was me. I'm sorry. I'm like, what in the world? What you doing up this late at night?
Sometimes you just get a second wind, and that's what happened to me.
I mean, you are up in here. Hey, we got Spot 'em Shot 'em. Hey there, Spot 'em Shot 'em. Welcome.
Welcome.
I'm trying to see how I can the only way I can hold on, let me go to your channel on my phone so I can make comments too. I guess I'll just make comments out loud, but I can see the comments. I clicked on them.
Okay.
So I'm on now. You're talking about love bombing.
Yes.
I absolutely despise love bombing and flattery. Like, it makes me cringe.
I agree. I don't mind a little bit, But for me, I'm a woman of, I prefer a man who shows me action. So
Mhm,
don't tell me you're going to give me the world. Give it to me. Don't tell me that you're going to do this and do that. Just do it.
mhm,
Just do it. I don't want to hear all of that. I don't want to hear all that roly-poly stuff because, you're not going to talk me out of my pants and talk me into the bed and talk me into doing everything that you want me to do off of words.
mhm.
I'm not moved by that. Like,
Absolutely. I and especially very early on, it's annoying. It's already annoying, but it's even that much more annoying. Um, like I think I talked to a guy for like 2 days, and on the third day, he was like, "Good morning, darling." I'm like, "My name is Tanya. It's not darling. That's not what my mama called me."
yeah.
It's just like I don't, it's not. It feels slimy to me. It feels like a cover up. It feels very covert.
I agree because I really feel like to get that type of intimacy, you need to earn it.
Yes.
You need to earn it, which means you need to put some skin in the game. So
Mhm.
you're not going to be all warm and cuddly and fuzzy with me and just because you have a penis.
Exactly.
No. No, like you want affection from me, I need to feel comfortable. I
Mhm.
have my process. I have the process of which I vet. I have the process of which I date. And you're not going to skip past any of the steps that I have in place of my heart. There are many,
Exactly.
many, many, many steps to get there. And having a penis doesn't grant you access to the most
No,
intimate parts of me. Sorry, bro.
absolutely
It
not.
doesn't work like that.
And like if I wanted a penis, there's a whole bunch of people out here I could just go get penis from.
Oh my gosh, penises in such abundance. It's
Yeah,
everywhere. It's just
so
falling
it's
out of the
like that's
sky.
not, dude. That's not. It's just like how men think about women. It's the same, If you think you're a woman that's going into a relationship with someone who you know is abusive, but you think that you have a vagina that's better than someone else's, and you're gonna change, it's sorely mistaken. There's so many more out here. It's they come a dime a dozen. So it's this, yeah. This is not about the penis.
Yeah, but I think a lot of times they just think that, and I mean for many of us who are really lonely or, have those like, we just kind of like we just want that validation, like women who just want that validation and they want that
Mhm,
attention.
mhm.
So as soon as they do hear, "Oh, beautiful, oh, darling," or "Oh, sweetie," or like, "Oh, baby," like there's something special about you, those women are incredibly vulnerable to being very receptive to
Yes.
that type of interaction. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Yeah.
Because there are holes and deficits in them, either consciously or unconscious, that leaves them very receptive and vulnerable to that type of stuff. But, you know, I've got some time in this thing, I've been
Okay.
working on this thing for a long time, so I feel generally good and generally satisfied and generally pleased, and I don't and so it doesn't move me,
Mhm.
you know, in order to and I'm maybe I'm getting a little bit spoiled, but like even to impress me takes a lot of effort these days because the bar just keeps going up. It just keeps going up.
And it's nothing wrong with that. If I set my bar at some, I have my expectations and I know my worth and my value, and then yours too, as the gentleman, I'm going to give you the treatment that I'm expecting to. I'm not expecting you to do something I don't want to do, but I'm definitely not pouring everything out of my cup for anyone anymore
Yes.
and not getting, having my cup filled up too. So no, I'm not. There's no compromise, and I agree with you. I'm just not compromising my standards. So if you're not, if you're not here with for these standards, then hey, it's not meant to be.
And I think as far as love bombing goes, one thing that I've noticed that narcissistic males do is they say one thing while they're doing another. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes.
they'll be pressuring you for something and they'll say, "But there's no pressure."
Yep.
Or they'll be, pushing an issue and they'll say, "But it's not really a big deal."
Mhm.
Or they pretend to be stupid about something that's very obvious, like
Mhm.
extremely obvious, and
Yep.
they feel like, "Well, if I just don't acknowledge it, then like she'll just let it go." Which is like
Mhm.
totally a form of gaslighting. It's totally a form. It's like if there's an elephant in the room and you're like, "What elephant? What are you talking about? What do
Yeah.
you mean?" And you're like, "That elephant that's right there that just passed gas, like that one." They're like, "I don't smell anything. I don't know what you're talking about. I
Mhm.
thought everything was fine." And you're like, "Okay, listen, there's a thing where like you'll know a healthy relationship, they shouldn't be pushing you to the point where you're uncomfortable. So if I keep telling you I don't feel comfortable with this and you keep pressing the issue and then you're saying, "Oh, but I want you to be comfortable." If you wanted me to be comfortable, you would drop this thing.
Exactly. Exactly.
You would stop this, but you keep
Mhm.
doing it.
Mhm. And and that causes confusion in people, and you kind of go around in these circles, and usually what that it kind of wears down your probably already very vulnerable boundaries. Most
Yeah.
people have very vulnerable boundaries,
Yeah.
and so things like that wear those down because it exhausts. It's like an immediate exhaustion when your boundaries are not strong enough to stand firm for your no.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I just did another video, which was long. I had to break it up into 2, chronicling this other guy I was dating and it really helped me see where I need to kind of grow, what I had a difficult time communicating, and it does take, some level of courage and strength to enforce your boundaries and to walk away
Mhm.
from a situation where love isn't being served.
Absolutely.
So, in the meantime,
Mhm.
between time, I think like those are things that we can definitely strengthen within ourselves. And I also
Yes.
think that as you get out and you start interfacing with people, it's always an opportunity to create healthy interactions because I always say that it's easy to go to the mountaintop and, levitate and like be all enlightened and everything. But it's when you come down from the mountaintop and you start interacting with the people in the town is
Yeah.
when you really see what you made of,
Exactly.
you know?
Mhm. Were
Yeah.
you just playing on that mountaintop, or were you really doing the work? Were you about to find out?
Yeah, you're practicing for the race, but you gotta get in there and actually run. Like, you
Yep.
gotta get in there and do it. And so then you start realizing like, "Oh, this is working, this isn't working, this isn't." Then maybe you go back to the mountain maybe you go back to the mountaintop and
Mhm.
you reach a new height and then you come back down and you interact with people and then you see where you are. You see what you need to do, to kind of push yourself and grow to the next level. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yep.
So, with this last guy, I was really thinking like, with him, he's Latino, which, so that's a thing. Like, I have dated Latinos in the past, so I know that they can be very aggressive. They can be a little bit like when they pursue women, like they really pursue them, which I don't mind, like a very assertive, like a very like persistent guy. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with a guy pursuing me. I like to be traditionally pursued, but there's a fine line between pursuit and love bombing.
Mhm.
There's
Mhm.
a fine line between pursuit and love bombing. So pursuit looks like I would like to take you out on this date. And like, I would like to take you out the next day. Like, what are your favorite restaurants? I would like to take you to the place that you want to go. And like, what's your favorite perfume? I'd like to purchase that for you. And like, well, what's a trip that you'd like to take? Like, I see all of that as pursuit. But if you're like, are you going to be my girlfriend on the second date?
Right.
That's love bombing.
Yes, it is.
If you're telling me that you love me after our first date, that's love bombing.
Mhm.
If I don't call you one day and you tell me you got sad because I didn't call you one day, that's love bombing.
Mhm.
That's love bombing. That's we you kind of have to know the difference. And I think that sometimes, like especially when women are dealing with like men who don't pursue them, and then like they get a man who does pursue them, it's easy to get caught up in that,
Mhm.
you know. And
Yep.
so it's really important to know what is love bombing versus what's like a healthy pursuit of
Mhm.
a man.
Yep. And I think that really guys that do love bombing, narcissistic men and narcissistic women do the same thing. Um, they can't help themselves. And so it's really, if we know the red flags to look for, they are going to show them in the beginning. I don't think I've spoken to a person yet who hasn't said something that resembled a huge red flag very early on, but they, for whatever reason, overlooked it and then, end up down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. Well, we
Yeah.
don't know until we know. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like we really don't know until we know.
Yeah.
And I think that that's why platforms like yours is so important because you have a very diverse and big audience. And so you're really able to take this awareness to the next level and help people understand like these telltale signs because most people who are not narcissistic by nature don't understand the beast. You know, they
Mhm.
don't understand how they work. Um, they don't understand the tactics, and so they're very just, just naive. Just
Mhm.
naive and
Mhm.
not naive in a negative sense, but just when you're not an evil psychopath, you just don't assume that people are,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
You're just living a loving life, and maybe there have been situations in your past that may make those interactions you may be used to them. You know what I'm saying? If you
Mhm.
have parents or family system that's toxic and abusive, sometimes there's a subconscious level that says, "Hey, I'm at home." When you meet somebody toxic, even if you would say, like, I don't want a toxic person on the
Yep.
outside, I don't want a toxic person,
Mhm.
because that's like, who would say, oh, yeah, I want a toxic man, I want a toxic woman. So you would say that you didn't, but there's some subconscious memory of
Mhm.
dealing with toxicity that when you confront it, there's a part of you that feels at home.
Mhm.
And you just
Yeah.
move right on in and you just get to doing what you do, making excuses and picking up the slack and doing extra work and trying to
Mhm.
figure out their emotions and overextending yourself because you've been used
Oh,
to doing
Lord.
it with your toxic family members.
Yes. Mhm. Mhm. And you're right. Ooh, saying all of those things, I just, when you hear other people saying it, it just takes you back down memory lane. It's like, yeah, I remember doing that. I remember doing that. But you are absolutely right. You don't know until you know. But, once you have that information, then you need to use it to protect yourself and to, you know, make those boundaries firm and let your no be no and your yes be yes.
Yeah. And
Right?
sometimes it's hard. And I have a lot of compassion for people who whose boundaries are so porous. I have a lot of compassion for them. I know it can be really hard, but I would just encourage you that we can do hard things.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
sounds easy for us to say, just say
Mm-hmm.
no, you know, block him. Who hasn't been staring at their phone like, but I really miss him, but I want to call. What
Yeah.
if it's going to get better?
Yeah.
Right? Like we've all been there.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
And I guess at my age of 42, I'm with you 100%. I know what you're saying, but now I think I've reached a point in age and experience in life to where I'm just like, oh no, I don't do that anymore. But I did. And so I
Yeah.
get it. I totally get it. Um, and but now it's just like, oh, bye. And I
Yeah.
just keep going and I go to bed or whatever else, whatever it was that I was doing. Um, and then that is a point that you have to get to. You have to learn and you have to practice your no, and you have to be firm with your responses, and you have to be clear with your expectations too. What are you looking for?
Yeah.
Be open. Now that I think you should be open about, like, everyone needs, what are you looking for? Okay. Because when I put it on the table of what I'm looking for, and then you're showing me something different, then, there's no misunderstanding. I let you know, and I asked you. And
Yeah.
so, I think that being still, after leaving abusive, being in abusive relationships for so long, and with narcissists, we hold back that, openness. You're afraid,
Mhm.
so we move on and we're afraid to take those chances again. But it's, we shouldn't walk in fear. That's really the abuse. The whole purpose of the abuse is to keep you in fear, to keep you silent, and so that you would be, terrified to move on, and confused, and all kinds of different things, that trauma that takes over and causes you to misunderstand signals and cues, and all kinds of things that happen. But it's just really important. I think you said this a lot too with us just talking privately, is you got to know who you are.
Mhm.
So don't even get out here if you don't take the time to get to know yourself, because you've been pouring into other people all of your life. You have no idea who you are and what you want.
Mhm.
And once you can really take inventory, self inventory, and take the time to get to know you, you can go out there with more confidence, just like how you're doing now. With a lot of your stories I hear, you're like, nope, I'm not doing Dusty. I've done the last Dusty I'm gonna do. And
Ever in life.
you're straight
Ever in
up.
life.
There's no hesitation, but that's because you know you now.
I knew myself before, Tanya, to be honest with you. I just, you know, when I think back to myself, even when I look at little girls now, there are things that we do to teach our children, especially our little girls, not to trust themselves.
Hmm.
So if they're crying about something and you say, "Stop crying. You don't have anything to cry about."
True.
When inside the girl is like, "No, no, no. I'm really sad that this happened." And then the adult figure in their life is telling them, "No, you're not sad." It creates a level of distrust of your own self and a disconnection from your own emotional body, right?
Hmm.
How we disrespect our little girls. Like, how many times has my mother's literally taken the hinges off my door. My
Hmm.
mother has read my journal and laughed in my face. I had
Yeah.
no privacy, no refuge, no
Hmm.
autonomy as a woman to be ushered into womanhood. Nobody to talk to me about how to
Hmm.
manage relationships, you know? And so all of those things lead us in a very vulnerable place to be in abusive relationships because of the lack of respect from the beginning.
Hmm.
What about slinging your children around,
Hmm.
grabbing them and just dragging them around like rag dolls,
Hmm.
which so many Black mothers do. So many Black parents do. What that teaches the child is you're worthless. You're so worthless. You're like a rag doll that I'm just going to drag around. And so that's why so many of us have high self-esteem. Black women are some of the most high achieving group. I think we're the most educated group in the freaking country. Like we're getting the PhDs, the masters, the bachelors, all of that. We're getting all of that. So we look great on paper. Our resumes look amazing. But oftentimes we have a low self-worth. And oftentimes we have that low self-worth because of those early interactions that persisted on into our adolescence, our teenagehood, our young adulthood, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes we'll keep on dealing with the toxic family members that continually don't recognize our worth. So we have to then do all the work that should have been done as little children once we know enough to start doing that self-worth work, validating ourselves, and recognizing ourselves, honoring ourselves, recognizing our uniqueness, recognizing that I do deserve space. I do deserve autonomy. I do deserve to be heard. What I say matters. What I feel matters. I matter. We have to do all that oftentimes on our own because our mothers didn't even feel that stuff for themselves. So how are they going to give it to us? How are they going to give it to us? So we are the ones who are like really breaking the cycle once we
Mhm.
know enough to know enough, because we're not we're giving our children a fighting chance to be fully, be fully human, be fully themselves, to fully self-actualize. We're giving them the space and opportunity to do that. They're not in a toxic abusive environment. If we do our job right, we're creating a safe, validating, a loving, nurturing place that is free for them to explore and self-actualize, our children. And many of us, if we got that, we're a miracle. If you're a millennial or a Gen Xer and you got that type of environment, you're an anomaly because most of us didn't.
Mhm.
Most of us didn't. I didn't.
Yeah, and I think that that just goes for people in general. I coach people from all backgrounds, and nobody's out here doing things really the right way, whatever that way is. Um, but there are ways that could be better, and a lot of people are traumatized by their families. Um, and I think because of being Black women raised by Black mothers, we might see it as a Black mother issue, but it's not. It's
Oh
not.
yeah. No, I think that's just my sphere of influence.
Yeah.
And I just think that that's my experience. But like, I've had a white client, and I think her mother was like an older Gen Xer. She wasn't quite a baby boomer, but like, she was white. Her mother was white. Like, but the stuff she's telling me, our mothers were basically interchangeable.
Mhm.
They
Mhm.
were basically interchangeable.
Yep. Yep.
Same behavior, same
Exact
behavior.
same.
So I know it's not specifically a Black issue, but I do think that there are certain dynamics within the Black community that make it that much harder for people to disconnect, because of the shame and all of that, and the guilt tripping. But let me read some of these comments. Cece says, after a month of dating with this man, he was already telling me he wasn't going anywhere. I'm yours in your mind. Now he has me blocked, shaking my head.
Mhm.
And Miss Bryant asked, do they get scared or have other people that they're juggling around? I
You
don't
can
think they
click
get.
on them and they'll go on the screen so that way I can. So I don't know. I was trying to read along with
Oh,
you.
okay.
That way everybody
There
can
we
know
go.
what to read. There you go.
Ah, okay. See there? Um, Tanya is helping me navigate StreamYard, and I am so grateful and thankful for it. Okay, so we see that she says, do they get scared or have other people that they're juggling around? The only thing that I think scares them per se is not having any supply. So they definitely want to like always have supply lined up and available. And so there's supply that's outgoing, there's current supply, there's incoming supply, there's new supply, and then there's supply that they'll eventually get to. So
Mm.
I think that that's probably the only thing that like really scares them is like lack of supply. And are they juggling around people? Yeah, usually. That's, in their nature.
Mm.
Um, let's
I
see.
if you don't mind, I want to take a shot at that to give
Yeah.
her a response. Is to so I do think that not having the supply terrifies them, but um, coupled with that as well is the exposure. They could still have the supply, but if you're someone from their past who is willing to speak up and start talking about them, they are afraid of that as well because they're always hanging on by a thin thread because they're very reckless people. And so they don't for some reason people think that they are really good with covering up and keeping things together, but they're not. And I've lived around these people all of my life. um and
It's
so
hard because sometimes the lies, start to contradict
yes.
themselves, and so it's hard to keep up with all these different stories and lies,
Mhm.
and things don't add up.
Yes. So yes, I'm agree with you that supply is definitely they cannot be without supply. Now sometimes they can't be. They're with people so long, and I just know a lady who I listened to some of her stories. Her husband now, although he has enough money to be at home or to have his own place, he's homeless because he has functioned with her for 25 years, her doing everything. Now, although he's had side supply and cheating and doing all kinds of stuff that he wanted to do, now that she has decided to go through with a divorce, he is completely collapsed.
Yeah,
Now, he could have access to supply, but she is the one that has done everything for him to uphold his facade for so long.
yeah.
His world came crashing down. Now, again, he has access, he's got money, access to whatever supply he wants, so called supply. But that's not it just supply is not always somebody else, or it was that facade, that false image that she helped hold up, and when she decided to pull the rug from under him, he came crashing down. Now he can't function at
I
all.
would say I would say that he made her his mother, which is
Yes.
what they do a lot of times. I know I was at the gym, and y'all, I really need to learn how to like be quiet because I be talking. I be just adding all kinds of extra information that people did not even ask me to add. But this woman was talking about what she shouldn't have been doing, telling her friend all her friends' business, talking about the friend, husband wouldn't sleep with her and had, said he wasn't cheating but would not sleep with her. And I already knew what was happening. A lot of times narcissists, when they make you the mother, they will stop sleeping with you because they don't see you as the person, they don't see you as a sex symbol. They see you as their mom.
Hmm.
So they will go and cheat with other women for those types of needs, or they'll watch porn, or they'll do anything, and
Yes.
they will motherfy you. They will
Yes.
motherfy you. So this guy was probably, his development was arrested all those
Hmm.
years because they're already developmentally delayed in a way. And
Hmm.
so for these 25 years that she's been doing everything, whatever age he stopped developing, so if it was like 13 or 14, that's how old he is.
Hmm.
So it doesn't matter how much money he has, he's just an adolescent. He doesn't developmentally, he wouldn't know how to manage life. He's
Hmm.
totally
Hmm.
useless. Totally
Hmm.
useless.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, Althea says, I really thought I was strong. His sweet talk and my imagination stronghold.
Mm. I want to. I want to say something. Look, I always got something to say. What? Go back to her comment.
Althea?
I really thought I was strong. His sweet talk and my imagination stronghold. I think this is important to point out something here, and that is something we leave out in the conversation because we always talk about how narcissists project all of their behavior and feelings and things onto us, but we don't talk about the part where we project our ideal. We idealize the relationship too.
Absolutely. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
So when she said that, I think
Absolutely.
it's important to talk about that.
Yes. I mean, I know that last year when I had my breakup with this guy who I really liked, I think I was 60% mourning the loss of the relationship in my head and 40% him. So,
Yeah.
you know, I'm very aware of that, and so that's part of the reason why now I just don't get into the shared fantasy, because the shared fantasy, you will fall in love with your own imagination. And another thing that I stopped doing with cluster B people in general, not just narcissistic people, but cluster B people in general, is I
Mhm.
don't spoon feed them insight. I
Mhm.
no longer spoon feed them insight, because they
Mhm.
pretend to be stupid, and they pretend not to know what the hell is happening, and they pretend that they need you to spell everything out. And so when you do, you think that you've come to resolution, and you think that they understand what they did, when in fact they don't, and they don't care, and you just resolved your own problem, and they have no skin. They're not, it's not a collaborative problem solving situation. You see what I'm saying? You're
Mhm.
spoon feeding them all the insight, which
Mhm.
I stopped doing this with my own biological mother. Like I just don't do it anymore.
Mhm.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Like I don't do that with cluster B people. Um, it really leaves you confused, because like you'll have this deep conversation. You're having the conversation with your damn self.
Yeah.
They're not even there.
Yeah. Yep. And it's true. It's true. They're not there. It's all manipulate. I mean, they're just not there. Period.
No, you're
Period.
having the conversation with yourself, so don't spoon feed them the inside.
Mhm. Yep. I
Yeah.
agree. I'm gonna do one more, and then I gotta get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I love y'all, but I got my kids coming in the morning. The students. I'm gonna
Okay.
go around with you one more
Which
time with this,
oh,
whichever one.
okay, Tanya, let me see which question you might want to address. Um, well, this might be a good one. This goes to what I was talking about earlier with the moms,
Mm,
and not giving women, not giving the girl children, um, autonomy and privacy and boundaries.
mm, yeah. I um I was just talking to a friend, um, actually about 30 minutes before I got on here, and we were talking about these same types of things. And I told her when I was younger, I started, when you go through the healing process, you start to look back and see a lot of things that shouldn't have taken place that did. And you got to work through it. But I was, I had just turned 13. My mother swore that I was having sex. I was forced to a clinic where her friend worked, forced to have a pap smear as a 13-year-old who had never had sex, had never done anything, so that she could check and make sure I wasn't doing anything. That was so traumatizing for me, among all of the other things that I had been through as a child, being sexually abused, assaulted, um, for a few years straight. And so, not having told my mom about the sexual assault and then having her do something like that to me just completely destroyed my sense of self.
Yeah.
And so it is um it is the worst type of invasion, um that one could, it's just, it was terrible. I'll never forget it. I was crying, I was begging for them to not do it, and to have medical people
Yeah.
who would not, you wonder. And so I understand how people, I'm just like, these people are everywhere, because at some point someone should have said that this is not okay.
Yeah.
So, yes, reading my journals, privacy. I mean, I didn't have any journals. If I had something, I left it at school. There was no privacy. It was not my home. It was her home.
Well, if I could speak to little Tanya, I would say, little Tanya, you're a beautiful, bright girl. You are deserving of to be heard. I am so sorry that someone violated your space and didn't listen to you. And furthermore, I'm sorry that someone didn't believe you because you are deserving to be heard and to be listened to and to be believed and to be trusted. It is safe to trust yourself. I would hug little Tanya and tell her everything is going to be okay. The adults around you failed you, but right now, Big Tanya is here to take care of you. She's going
Mm-hmm.
to wrap you in her arms, love you, and hug you. It's okay to cry. It's okay to express yourself. It's okay to be you because now you are safe. I hear you. I see you. I feel you. And it's
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yes. And it's also important for us to have these conversations, with each other to heal as women.
Yes.
Um, I think the next phase for my healing, I talk about breaking the silence for domestic abuse, but there comes a point where this is really, now I can say this is really hard for me as a Black woman raised in traditional Black, a traditional Black family. Um, because you cannot come out and expose the things that are allowed to take place.
Hmm.
And then this is for a lot of families. I spoke with a gentleman today from Brazil. He had the same issue. Um, you know, in these families, you can't talk about these things, and so we've got to get to a point to where we don't expose it in a malicious way, but we expose it in hopes that everybody can take an opportunity to reflect. And can we heal from there or not? And if we can't have that conversation, when do we cut them off?
Hmm. Conversation about abuse of children.
Of being abused as children, anything that you saw that you were exposed to,
Hmm.
um, just when can we have a discussion about the trauma?
Well, Tanya, I would say that most of our family is not going to be equipped for that conversation
No, they're not.
because the thing about trauma, and this goes for therapists as well, any trauma that you have not processed within yourself is going to be very difficult for you to listen to and hear and be present with someone's trauma that's very similar to yours.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, most cluster B people have shut down a part of themselves that gives them access to their inner child, that gives them access to their emotional body.
Right.
Systematically, they've killed it. So the trauma that created the shutdown is inaccessible to them, which means that they will usually be dismissive uh, of anything that you're trying to say because they don't want to agitate their own trauma.
Hmm.
For me to keep, in my opinion, to keep children safe, because that's really where we're at right now. We need to keep
Hmm.
our children safe.
True.
And sometimes that means keeping them safe from our own blood relatives,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And their acquaintances, right?
Hmm.
So that entails us, if I'm talking about keeping a child safe, you should be jumping on board with whatever I'm talking about.
Yep.
So if I say she's not allowed to be in the room with these five boys by herself, you should be like, okay, yeah, sure, no problem. I'll do that. But if I tell you she can't be alone in the room with these five boys, and you're like, well, why are you saying that? What you think my baby going what you think my nephew gonna do something to your okay, we gotta go.
Right.
We can't stay here with you people. Because if I'm expressing to you something that I feel like I need to keep this child safe, my child safe, any child safe, and you're not collaborating with me about keeping all the children safe, I gotta stay the fuck away from you because you're a motherfucking problem and you're gonna put these children at risk. And I have zero tolerance for adults who do not protect children. I'm a very refined and very elegant woman. But if you want to see some hood ratchet shit come out of me, you will put children at risk. And that is a whole nother side of me that you don't want to see. So it's best that I stay away from you. There have been situations where I've been on the outside looking in, and I've done my best to try to protect children. I've called, I've made reports, I've done whatever it is that I could do. I've talked about it, I've shared information, but I have to know my boundaries. I have to know like what I can do and what I can't do. But if there's anything that I can do to help a child, to keep a child safe that's in my sphere of influence, I try to do it.
Mhm. Yep.
Because I think that when we're talking about these very sensitive issues, it's most important to not further hurt ourselves and to talk about these issues in a situation that's going to be nurturing to us, that's going to be
Mhm.
comforting to our soul, that's going to be gentle. We need to handle ourselves gently because this is very sensitive. Can you think about an open wound, right? And how sensitive you have to sit down gently. You have to move gently. You can't
Mhm.
just have an open wound and go into a lion's den and expect to get, you see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Even if that lion's den is your own family. So I think that it's best to work with a coalition of the willing. If there's anybody in your family who's halfway decent and sane, then go for it. But dealing with toxic people
Mhm.
and trying to talk about, because I know for like with my biological mother, she always makes it about her. Like you'll try to talk
Yep.
about your trauma
Mhm.
and she'll be like, I worked so hard, I worked 2 jobs, I didn't know what was going, and she'll just make it all about her. And then you're like, what the fuck did I just call you? Like, I don't even remember why I called you. Like, we've just spent the last hour talking about you. So
Yep.
I'll go
Yep.
more into that later on this week.
Yeah, we can get to talking about that again. I am going to tap out on that note, though.
All right, my
I
dear.
have a very long day tomorrow. So
Well,
you all take care. Be
thank
blessed.
you for
Thank you so
calling in.
much for letting me be on here. God bless you. Keep up the good work. Get up.
God bless you. Peace and love.
All right.
Alrighty, beautiful people. I have shared the link. Um, if anybody else wanted to call in, nobody else has called in, so I'm going to assume that no one else wanted to. And I would like to thank you all for joining my first live. Please do check the replay. If you didn't hear the beginning, I kind of go into my story about the love bombing, and then we took some twists and turns with our conversation and hit on a lot of different things. So, so yeah, it's been a really, really good dialogue. It's been a really, really good, I think, conversation this evening. Um, so let's see, my narcissistic family, they're making good friends with exes. So anyway, yeah, I would like to thank you all. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please like and subscribe. All right, y'all. Have a blessed evening. Peace.